Mars on a collision course with Earth. A planetary catastrophe for several weeks. Mars has been heading straight toward Earth, its path of destruction already beginning to unfold. Massive tsunamis and violent earthquakes have already started ravaging the planet. As the red planet draws closer, Earth's surface begins to crack, and gravity itself starts to shift. The question is, what will happen next? 15 days before impact, a planetary catastrophe begins. Earth has faced significant collisions in its history. Over millions of years, the planet has been struck by asteroids, comets, and other celestial objects, but the most infamous of these events is the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. That asteroid, though catastrophic, was only about 10 kilometers, 6 miles, wide, roughly the size of 90 football fields. Now, imagine a much more massive threat. Mars, a planet with a diameter of 6,800 kilometers, 4,200 miles, is on a direct collision course with Earth. The gravitational pull of this red planet, which is about 10 times the mass of the Moon, is becoming more and more evident. Normally, Mars orbits at a distance of about 225 million kilometers, 140 million miles, from Earth. However, in this scenario, Mars is much closer, now just 4 million kilometers, 2.5 million miles, away. From this proximity, Mars would appear in the sky as a huge, glowing red object, similar in appearance to a second, oversized moon. The gravity of Mars, much stronger than that of the Moon, is already exerting its influence. Earth's crust begins to bulge and warp under the strain, and ocean levels rise with disturbing speed. The oceanic bulging could lead to gigantic tsunamis, with waves high enough to flood entire coastal cities. 3 days before impact, rising tides and shifting plates as Mars draws closer, now only 800,000 kilometers, 500,000 miles, away, the planet appears as an enormous red crescent in the sky, growing larger with every passing moment. The gravitational forces at play are immense. Mars is not only much heavier than the Moon, but its proximity is causing extreme tidal forces. Earth's oceans are now rising 30 to 50 meters, 100 to 165 feet, above the normal levels. Coastal cities are already facing massive flooding, while deep beneath the Earth's surface, tectonic plates are shifting, triggering earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The ground shakes relentlessly as volcanoes begin to spew molten lava, blanketing the land in fiery destruction. Millions of people are at risk of drowning as coastal cities, including major metropolises like Miami and Venice, are submerged by the rising tides. The chaos on the surface is matched by widespread panic. People around the world look to the skies and witness Mars growing ever larger. Infrastructure is collapsing as the world scrambles to deal with multiple crises at once. Power grids fail, leaving most of the planet without electricity. Emergency services, already stretched thin, are now powerless to respond to the sheer number of disasters happening at the same time. Refugees and survivors struggle to find shelter, with many trying to reach underground bunkers in search of safety. 36 hours before impact, the final countdown. Mars continues its approach, getting closer and closer to Earth. At 384,400 kilometers, the same distance as the Moon, the red planet will now dominate the sky. Its gravitational pull is so strong that it causes tidal waves to reach staggering heights of 60 to 100 meters, 200 to 330 feet. Entire regions are flooded, and the Earth's surface is rocked by even more violent earthquakes. The volcanic eruptions become more intense, covering vast stretches of land in ash and lava. As humanity struggles to survive, some people manage to seek refuge underground, hoping that the Earth's crust will provide some protection from the impending disaster. In the meantime, Mars is now only 10,000 kilometers, 6,200 miles, away. The force between the two planets is so great that it is beginning to tear Mars apart. Mars cracking under Earth's gravitational pull. Why is Mars starting to crack under pressure? The answer lies in the mass difference between the two planets. Earth is much more massive than Mars, about 10 times heavier. This difference in mass results in Earth exerting a far greater gravitational force on Mars than Mars can exert on Earth. As a result, Mars begins to fracture, its surface cracking and splitting apart as it draws closer to Earth. There is a possibility that Mars could break apart entirely before making impact, sparing Earth from a direct collision. The gravitational forces pulling on Mars may cause the planet to disintegrate into space debris. If this happens, Earth might survive, at least for now. What caused Mars to head toward Earth? The question arises, how did Mars end up on a collision course with Earth in the first place? One possible explanation is the presence of a rogue planet, one that does not orbit any star. These rogue planets are often difficult to detect because they emit very little light. They are often made of dark materials, and their presence can only be detected through their gravitational influence on other objects in space. If such a rogue planet had entered the solar system and disturbed Mars' orbit, it could explain why the red planet is now heading toward Earth. This scenario would not be the first time such an event has occurred. Around 4.5 billion years ago, a Mars-sized planet collided with the early Earth, creating the debris that eventually coalesced to form the Moon. Earth's history has been marked by celestial collisions, and now, it seems, we are once again facing a devastating impact. Humanity's last hope, a fight for survival as the countdown to impact continues, humanity's chances of survival grow slimmer by the minute. Tsunamis continue to ravage coastal cities, and earthquakes tear apart cities worldwide. Volcanic eruptions blanket the skies, causing a global blackout. People are trying to escape the devastation, but the scale of the disaster is simply too large to overcome. Some have sought shelter in underground bunkers, hoping the Earth's surface will provide protection. With Mars just 10,000 kilometers, 6,200 miles, away, the situation grows even more dire. Will Mars crumble